And the John Marshall Rockets won the state championship in boys hockey. It was a long time ago. Next week marks the 40th anniversary of the Rockets championship title, the first and only one this town has ever seen.
That's right. And with the current boys state tournament underway, we take a look back at one of the most memorable sports moments in Rochester's history.
In the state of hockey, everything south of the Twin Cities is often overlooked. But there was a time when Rochester ruled the game on ice.
March 19th, 1977.
He shoots, he scores! Short-handed goal!
John Marshall versus Edina East.
We may have one of the biggest upsets in state high school hockey history.
State championship.
The Rochester John Marshall Rockets.
The day the Rockets took flight, the first and only time in history that a team from Rochester won a state high school league title in hockey. But a championship season starts long before the puck drops in the tournament, and the roots of the '77 Rockets run as deep as the ice is thick in Minnesota.
These kids lived on an outdoor rink. They were just rink rats. They loved it. They had a tremendous burn to play hockey.
Growing up, I mean, if you weren't at Allendale all day, you know, skating until you're almost delirious, really.
Saturdays and Sundays were up there all day long. So you learn the game without parents around. You learn how to control the puck in tight corners.
In the 1970s, the Rochester Mustangs senior team was still in town, and the John Marshall kids looked up to them as role models.
The old Mustangs' influence on these guys was tremendous. And you'd have old guy, young guy, old guy, young guy, and they would scrimmage.
I started coaching us when we were squirts and peewees and bantams, and so we got taught right early the right way to play the game.
By the time we got to high school, we felt pretty confident that we knew how to play hockey.
All right, center iceman.
Trying to organize all that raw talent into a system can be difficult. So, Rockets coach Gene Sack didn't change a thing.
He knew your strengths, and your strengths were your creativity. How many set plays did you guys actually even have?
None. None.
Our practices started out every day. 1-on-0s, 2-on-0s, 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s, scrimmage. I mean, that was our practice.
A lot of coaches wouldn't do that. They'd say, well, I want you to play this system and this system and this system, instead of just letting them play. They let them play, which was so fun to watch.
In 1977, the Rockets' unharnessed creativity reached its peak. JM went 22-2 and qualified for the state tournament, the first Rochester team to do that since 1945.
Nobody had us on their radar at all.
Around the state, no one expected Rochester John Marshall to do it.
And yet, they did. JM skated through the quarterfinals and the semifinals and into the state championship game against powerhouse Edina East.
If you read the papers, it was going to be a blowout. It was like we were going to be lucky if we could stay within 5 goals.
John Marshall was labeled as the underdog, but the Rockets didn't see it that way.
We did have an inkling in our head that, hey, we know we can play with these guys. The state may not have seen us, but we were ready.
And I remember Coach Sack saying, you know what? These guys are just 16 and 17-year-olds just like you. They're no different than I am.
Wasting no time, Bruce Akins cracked the ice with a goal on the very first shift of the game.
I think that just sent a message to everybody, their team, any Edina fan. It's like, okay, these guys are real.
Edina had to scratch their head a little bit and say, oh man, they are coming at us.
Then the Rockets' top offensive weapon took over. Scott Lisi scored 61 goals in 1977, perhaps none more memorable than his shorthanded breakaway in the championship.
Everything about him was really better than anything Edina had, I thought. And he could put the puck in the net from anywhere.
He's got a man breaking. Lisi, short-handed.
As soon as I turned, I saw Paul was going to get it. I took off, and as usual, he makes a great pass.
He shoots, he scores!
Faking the shot, comes back and puts a backhand up in the top corner. It's just a fantastic goal.
Edina battled back to tie the game at 2 before John Marshall took the lead once again in the third period. Then, with only 58 seconds remaining, Todd Lisi added the finishing touch with an empty net goal that sent the Rockets into orbit.
And once it went in, it was over. We had done it.
It's over! And we may have one of the biggest upsets in state high school hockey history on our hands.
To say it was an upset, I don't know that I'd go that far. That 11 of these kids played college hockey. 9 of them at the Division I level. I mean, that's the best team I've ever seen come out of Rochester.
John Marshall Rockets.
Todd and I were fortunate to play on a championship team at Wisconsin, and people have asked me, can you compare them? And it's like, I'll take the JM State High School Hockey over a national college title.
To the honorary mayor of Rochester for today and tomorrow, Gene Sack.
We were just the kids from the South and showed everybody that we belonged and we could do it. That stays with all of us forever and ever.
40 years later, we're still talking about it, so certainly a source of pride for all of us that were involved in it.
I remember sitting outside St. Paul Civic Center, and I said to myself, this won't sink in for 10 years. And it did.
Two years after that, John Marshall lost in overtime to Edina East in the '79 state title. They lost again in OT in 1989. Leward finished runner-up in the Class Single A tournament back in 2001, and Century placed third in 2007. But Pat, those teams have come close. 77 stands alone, the only title.
I remember watching that game in '77 in my grandpa's house in St. Paul, and to this day when I see Todd or Scott or Paulie Brandrup in a hockey arena, I go, wow. They're the guys that won the state title. They still have that aura around them to this day, and they're up there celebrating in St. Paul. And they beat a king, Edina, and we talked about it. The first 24 years of the state hockey tournament, the Iron Range owned it. St. Paul Johnson won 3 out of the 24. Then Edina came along in 1969 and beat Warroad with Henry Boucher, and that was Edina when they were the kings. So for Rochester,
a murder trial